So, welcome everyone. It's good to see you. Good evening. So, this week's topic, as I mentioned last time, is particularly honesty and sincerity. Very, very important topics. And today, in particular, is about practicing with sincerity. One of the things that we often overlook when we get lost in chasing techniques or teachers or do retreats hopping or whatever it is that we're doing, it's really important if you practice something, really anything in life, that you do it wholeheartedly. If you do something wholeheartedly, if you do it with your full being, then it manifests results in an easier, more direct way. If we, on the other hand, do the opposite, which is usually dabbling around, like trying this technique, doing a few changes to our technique, and trying some of the other techniques, reading different books, visiting different teachers, trying this and that, changing week after week, YouTube video after YouTube video, and so forth, really results can't properly manifest. So if you're doing something, do it fully. And what really helps me with this is documenting what I'm doing. Or setting out, for example, to say, I'm going for 21 days or, I don't know, a month, I'm going to work on just this. And I make sure it's a small thing that I'm working on, not too much, just a little bit. Something small, like working on my posture, and just my posture, really doing that for a month properly, doing it really well, just bringing all my attention, my energy to cultivating, developing proper posture. And then of course, in the course of the month, then doing everything that it takes to cultivate proper posture. For example, lengthening my sessions, cultivating stillness in the body, doing everything that helps me to get a better posture, like visiting a yoga teacher, getting some tips and tricks on how to move myself into a better posture and so forth. Or I might just work on present moment awareness, or relaxing the body, or silent present moment awareness, or breathing meditation, kindness, maybe compassion, cultivating some of the perfections like generosity or patience. And then doing that for a predetermined time, doing it like wholeheartedly, doing it fully, studying about the topic, doing some practice every day, having like a routine that helps you to go deeper into that. That way you will get results rather fast. And what's also important, of course, is not just going ahead and doing it, but also measuring your progress. Like with anything, if you're doing something over a certain amount of time, you want to know if you're successful at doing it or not. If you're just doing it, then maybe after a week you've made some progress, but you don't really know why, and you don't really know exactly what kind of progress you made, because you didn't really observe it. So it's important also to notice maybe every day in the evening, sit down a little bit and write a diary. So what went better today? Or do it after your meditation session. What did you observe? What kind of changes? You bring in this kind of specific mindset. Here's what I'm working on, and here's how that particular facet of the practice develops over time. This is very fulfilling. We all like growth. We enjoy it when we grow in any area of life. If you're getting better at something, it's a deeply fulfilling experience. It's very nice. The same is true for meditation. Many people just meditate. They just sit down and kind of wait for something very often. Like, okay, if I'm doing this practice for a certain while, there's supposed to be something magical that needs to happen to me. Maybe enlightenment, maybe something deeper, whatever. It's all very fuzzy. We don't really know what's supposed to happen. We've read so many books about what could happen. What does the orange light mean? Suddenly I see an orange light when I practice. What does it mean? Then we Google What does it mean, orange light? Meditation, orange light. And then Google spits out thousands of answers, confusing you even more. You do your Google session, and afterwards you're not a bit more confident in your practice, you're less confident, because now you have so many more opinions and so many more options that could be all true. And every option sells itself as the right option. Maybe some people tell you an orange light just means an orange light. Others say orange light means that your solar plexus chakra is opening. And others then say, well, orange light means that you are entering a different area of consciousness. I don't know. There are so many possibilities of whatever could be said about that. Right? Different systems, different interpretations. In the realm of these things, it's literally endless. So the first step, I think really that's necessary when you're setting out on a meditative path, is to find a good teacher who can teach you how to meditate properly. And then do the technique that the teacher teaches you wholeheartedly. It's like going to a doctor, right? And it's very often that example is given of the Buddha being like a skilled physician, like a doctor, that gives you some medicine, and then you take it. And as you take that medicine, you will see some improvements. That gives rise to faith. That is the birth of faith. You see, my belly hurts. Someone tells me, go to that doctor, he's good with bellies. So you go to that doctor, he gives you the medicine, you eat the medicine, belly pain goes away. Seems to work. Next time when you have some trouble with your belly, you go to the same guy again, and he can help you again. Your faith grows. Your trust grows. And the relationship to the doctor becomes better and better. Each time you visit, he gets to know you a little bit better. Each time you visit, you get to know him a little bit better. It's the same with meditation. We come to meditation because we are mentally ill. We hurt. The mind hurts. People are drawn to meditation. There's various kinds of reasons why we're drawn to meditation, but it's suffering. It's some form of distress. I can't control my mind. I can't sleep properly. What's that sad feeling that I have since a few weeks? Why doesn't it go away? I feel empty. I don't want to do anything in my life anymore. I'm stressed. And then you read this article on meditation and you find, it might help. So you Google meditation, Phuket, you come to a meditation center, you hear something on meditation, you try it for the first time, and maybe it works. You feel a bit better afterwards, so you're intrigued, you want to take it a bit further. That's usually how it starts. As you take it a bit further, your learning deepens. Every time you come to class, every time you do your own practice, your experience, your learning deepens. And with that, your contemplation deepens. You start to think differently, feel differently, experience life differently. And hopefully in a good way. Less stress, less suffering, less problems, more ease, more spaciousness, more happiness, more kindness, better relationships, and so forth. And you see everything in life, it gets better. Then usually what we do is, when you're in a valley of your life and it's really hard and difficult, and you pick up practice of meditation, you get really good at it, and your energy comes back. And you feel great. And as soon as you feel really, really good, guess what happens next? You stop the practice. It's very common in the beginning. People stop. They drop the practice. I'm feeling great. I don't need it anymore. And then the next problem comes, and then they remember, oh, there was something, meditation that helped, so they go back to meditation. So that goes back and forth a few times until your sincerity towards the practice becomes more deep. You ask yourself, why am I doing this really? This is kind of an entry gate into sincerity. Why am I sitting here? What's the point? Why I'm saying these things? Why do I cross my legs? Why close my eyes? Why sit upright? Why focus on the breath? Why doing these things? And so you ask yourself, deeply enough, you will find, yes, I'm doing this because it gives me a sense of relief maybe in the beginning. It gives you a good feeling of releasing some stress, releasing some suffering, finding some peace, feeling a bit better. Good, then make that very clear every time you practice. Every time before you practice, ask yourself, okay, why am I doing this again? And then that, you can take it slowly deeper. You can ask yourself deeper questions. For example, as I mentioned the other week, there are 5 reflections that the Buddha recommends to do every day. And the first one being, I'm subject to illness. I have not gone beyond illness. The second one, I'm subject to old age. I've not gone beyond old age. Third one, I'm subject to death. I have not gone beyond death. I will die. The fourth one, I will lose everything that is dear to me. And the fifth one, I'm the heir of my actions and I'm the owner of my actions. All 5 of these are very important reflections. They make you think a little bit deeper about life. Not just like, hey, what's for dinner? Or, let me get that next fix. Let me change my posture one more time so I get a bit of a happier situation in life. And doing that in all the areas of life. Just moving from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Always remaining somehow thirsty. The Tibetans have a beautiful simile. They say that the things in life are like salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. So the more we follow our wantings and our likings and our preferences, like, the more we get entangled in that. It does not lead to satisfaction. It does not lead to peace. It just leads to more stuff. Right? If you reflect like that, your motivation becomes even more sincere. So you're not practicing because you want to look spiritual on Instagram. Or you would like to be appreciated as a peaceful person. I would like people to see me as the peaceful Tobi or a meditation master. I couldn't care less. It doesn't matter. Why? Because I will die. And I might die tonight. It's a very real scenario. So real that I don't care if you're seeing me as a peaceful meditation master or not. It's ridiculous. You know. So here the motivation comes into even more sincerity. I'm not doing the practice to appear a certain way to others, which we very often do. Or I'm doing the practice to become more successful at work. I want to manifest myself as a CEO. I want to get the promotion. That's why I'm doing mindfulness. So I'm going up on the corporate ladder and finally make it. Mindfulness is supposed to help, I've heard. But all that stuff, is it really what you want? This is this saying, right? Be careful what you wish for because you might actually get it. Sometimes we think that, oh, life would be ideal if it was like this or like that. But we tend to forget that So many times when we imagine that life is supposed to be like this or like that, it came also with a whole bunch of problems. At some point, I wanted to live in Thailand, so I came to Thailand. Great, paradise. But then, okay, I'm sitting around here and I need to do something. Right? So you need to find the next step. Then all money runs out. What's next? Well, fear is next. Well, it would be ideal if I could only, and then goes next, and from job to job, and this and that. It's just endless. But we have this mindset that says, well, oh, if I just get to point B, it'll be all right. I just need to get there. You might even do that spiritually. If I just get to enlightenment, then, well, that's craving, isn't it? It's just grasping for that thing that's supposed to fix this. It doesn't exist, though. The more you contemplate like this, the more sincere your practice becomes. You're not doing it to get stuff, to manifest abundance or whatnot. We're not doing it for these things, because it's things. Things are things. They're fine. Things are not bad. They're not good. They're just things. The problem is if we see like this kind of, it's like a hallucination. We see as if things would carry happiness. And it's like, I only need to consume that and happiness is mine. And then we get lost in these episodes in life. Just wandering around. It's Tibetan word for sentient being, for a living person, is dowa. Dowa means walker. The one that walks. A wanderer. Like someone walking all the time. It's exactly what we do. We're constantly walking. But where are we walking to? Some people are running. Where to? If it would be really, really clear that we're all running into a pine box, it would straighten out things. It would straighten out our motivations pretty much on the spot. If this was your last day, would you waste it arguing and fighting about politics with people that you hardly know on Facebook? Probably not. Right? If this was your last day, would you spend it in an uplifting way or an inspiring way? Or would you be fearful? Regretful, maybe even? Looking back onto your past, feeling, oh God, I wish I would have. Or would you look forward? Some people are very depressed. They kind of look forward to death. Oh, I'm okay with death. That creates sincerity. At least in my case. Maybe not a universal thing, yeah. But in my case, the reflection of death and impermanence immediately straightens out my mind. Immediately. It gives me a boost of, whoa, I'm not doing this for some fancy illusion. I'm doing this for the sake of just doing it, for the sake of practicing properly. Because it leads to release here and now. It leads to peace here and now. It does. That's the power of this path. And the more sincere you are with the practice, the more rewarding and nice and fulfilling and deep it becomes. It's a beautiful path, through and through, in all its aspects. Right, as the saying goes, I think, it's beautiful in the beginning, in the middle, in the end. Refining our character is a beautiful thing to do. becoming more kind, more compassionate, more caring, more warm, friendly, welcoming, giving. That's a beautiful thing. In the middle, it becomes more beautiful as your mind becomes more still and more refined. You start to see totally different experiences that are possible in life if the mind becomes calm and settled. Then you have a mind that actually feeds you. It's not a mind that's constantly hungry. It actually starts feeding you. It is well nourished by samadhi. It's well nourished by stillness, you can say. And then it's beautiful in the end. It leads directly to release, to freedom from suffering. And that is beautiful. The ability to see that when you suffer, either physically or mentally, you can let go. You don't have to be entangled in it. You can be free from it. That's a nice thing to see. It's a very empowering path, both for yourself and for others. So one thing that gives me personally sincerity is reflecting on death. So before I meditate, sometimes I reflect on death. I think, okay, if that's the last thing I do, how do I want to do it? Okay, I want to do it well. I want to do it as good as I can. The same goes for my day. If I think, well, this might be my last sunset or my last sunrise, then how do I want to spend the day? Well, as good as I can. So that in the evening, when night comes, I can look back at my day and say, well, I did my best and it was really nice. I did well. You could also call that self-respect. You are inspiring yourself. If you look back on your own life, you're like, wow, that's inspiring. That's pretty cool. I did well. That's not really conceit. It's joy. You're feeling good about what you did. And you can actually cultivate that. You do a little good, and then afterwards, you look back onto it and say, wow, that feels great. I did that. It trains the mind to not constantly dwell on faults and mistakes and problems and so forth, because the mind has a tendency to do that in most people. It goes to the negative. Oh, I'm not good. I didn't do that well, and that too. It's very likely that I will do that badly tomorrow too. That doesn't help us to break free from it, right? So look at what's uplifting you. That gives rise to further sincerity. You want to do it even more because you see it so rewarding. So you really practice for yourself. Some people start with these very high-minded ideals of compassion for all living beings. Start with some compassion for yourself sometimes and be happy about it. It's nice, it's great, but for all living beings, it's way out there. Why go so far? Do a little good and then feel a little happy about it. Do some more. That's already quite nice. And if you spend your whole day like that, doing a little good, feeling a little happy about it, it accumulates. After a week, you can look back at 7 days of doing a little good and feeling a little happy about it. It accumulates. It's good. So do good. And sit down and meditate. Do yourself an ultimate favor and quieten the mind. Let the mind become calm and still. And discover just how beautiful it is when the mind doesn't move. Because normally the mind constantly moves, right? The attention constantly goes from thing to thing. Oh, and you discover it's very nice if the mind doesn't move. Sessions like these are very good. Because many people come together, and some of you guys have some significant experience in meditation practice. It significantly raises the energy in this room. So it's very good to meet with people. It's a good thing to do, isn't it? It gives you easier access to states that might be harder to access when you're alone at home and next door there's a bulldozer. So meeting with inspiring people is something that could be a cause of sincerity. Oh, yeah, there we go. Meeting with sincere people and having devotion to people who are sincere, that gives rise to sincerity immediately. If you hang around with people who are deeply sincere, you become sincere. You can't help it. So that's probably the best way. You just hang around good people. The more you do that, well, the faster you progress, actually. This is one of the easiest ways. That's why the monks go into the monastery and they practice there. It's a protected environment. Everybody is after it. All together. It's pretty cool. And it's easier to develop the path. And for us worldlings who are still trapped in whatever businesses and all that, then this is an alternative. Meeting up, practicing together, cultivating some stillness, doing good, feeling good about it afterwards. I did well. I took care of myself, because that's what you do when you meditate. You're kind to yourself. You give yourself some rest. You let yourself calm down. You enjoy your own company a little bit. That's nice. You're being kind to yourself. That's an expression of sincerity too. Kindness. Accepting something as it is. Seeing it clearly for what it is. And so ultimately you can actually say that being sincere leads towards the realization of truth. Waking up to truth. Waking up to the way it is. If we're not having any form of pretense in our practice, or in general in life, you're a very truthful, honest person, it's more easy for you to be relaxed and at ease. You don't have to carry masks, heavy masks. That's again the honesty aspect, right? So honesty and sincerity both are very important qualities that should be cultivated frequently. Whenever you remember it, try to bring some sincerity into what you do. Do your meditation wholeheartedly. Do it really well when you sit down. As to say, what was it that I'm doing again here? You know, normally it goes by in a blur. You put the timer on, put your phone next to yourself, and then you start doing the meditation. Before you know, 30 minutes or an hour has passed, and you go into the next things of your day, and it's kind of like it goes by in a blur. So make it really conscious. Put the timer on and then do it really well. Do every breath really nicely, wholeheartedly, and your practice will develop fast. It's one of my personal errors in my own practice is dabbling. Is what keeps me from developing faster is the attitude of jumping around. I could do it like this, or maybe not today. I'll do tomorrow. I'll do an extra session tomorrow. And then it's tomorrow I don't do the extra session, of course, because I have something else to do. So it goes like back and forth, and then I change the practice ever so slightly here and there. Kind of wiggle my way through it. I'm not feeling like this today, so I don't do it. That's not sincere. Do it really well then. Do it exactly the way it's supposed to be done. And yeah, the meditation practice as such might not feel good as a result. But you did it well anyways, and that's what matters. That's what creates good results. Like trying to wiggle your way around the meditation practice so that you make sure that you feel good by the end of it. That's not really sincerity. But following exactly the steps of the technique and finding comfort within the steps, now that's how it's supposed to be done. And that will lead to results. Because it's very honest, it's very sincere, it's very powerful, the practice is strong. If you look at successful people in any area of life, anywhere in the world, they have that in common. They're very, very direct with what they do, very well structured, very clear in their head about what they want and what leads there, and what they need to do to get there. There's no haziness, kind of like, yeah, it would be nice if, or something like that. They're very direct, have a great time management, good structure. They hang around with people that uplift them and support them. We can learn from that also in the realm of meditation. Bringing in that clarity and that joy of doing it properly, doing it really well. We take pride in that, right? You do it well. It's an art. You're sculpting your meditation practice. Each time you sit down, you work on that beautiful sculpture. You make it a bit better. You're refining it. You take joy in that refinement, in that process. Like an artist, like a musician that works on a specific skill. Just having joy in getting better with that. Just enjoying that. These people really, they open the door for greatness. All of them. Taking joy in refinement. Today I found something on Facebook. It's like, it's a new Japanese fad, new Japanese kind of trend. There's people who have this aluminium foil and they crush it up into a little ball and then they polish the aluminium ball. They hammer it, they compress it, and it takes hours and hours and hours. And then they polish it to such a degree that it's really, really shiny. It looks super nice, very beautiful. They spend these hours of arduous work polishing that aluminium foil. That kind of pleasure in, refining something is very Japanese, I think. And just finding this kind of, you have this empty room, and in the middle of the room, just where the light comes in, there's this one flower, this one orchid, just perfectly aligned with the light. And there are people who spend hours meditating on the arrangement there. Tea ceremony. This perfection of serving tea to someone. It's amazing. I love this kind of stuff. It's an expression of that sincerity and devotion to detail and doing it well. If you have that quality in your practice, you can't help but getting really good at it really fast. And so we should work on it, cultivating that quality, nourishing it, feeding it, bringing it up whenever you remember it, reading books that help you to cultivate it, to bring up that feeling, yes, I want to do it really well. Coming to talks like these, maybe they help you also to feel like, yeah, I want to do it really well. Maybe you feel fired up now. That would be cool. I'd be happy about that, because doing it well is the cause of attaining it well. Okay? So that's all that comes to mind for today. Are there any questions?